Dear folks of Baba, I thought we would revisit the topic of what Baba referred to as the provisional ego, the information of which is one of the major challenges for us in this Advent. Putting the provisional ego into practice is profoundly elusive, but it's where we're ultimately heading. How do we get there? What are the intermediate steps? Your perspectives are wholeheartedly invited. First, an invaluable quote by Baba on the provisional ego. Provisional meaning temporary, a substitute arranged for the time being only. Think of me in everything you do. Eat, dance, but forget yourself in the action and think of me instead. This is union through action. The less you think of yourself, the more you think of Baba. The sooner the ego goes and Baba remains. When you, ego, go entirely, I am one with you. So bit by bit, you have to go. Today your nose, tomorrow your ears, then your eyes, your hands, everything. Think of me when you eat, sleep, see, and hear. Enjoy everything, but think it is all Baba. Baba enjoys it. Baba is eating, sleep soundly in Baba, and when you wake, remember it is Baba getting up. Keep this one thought constantly with you. If you do wrong, then think it is Baba doing wrong. If you get a pain, think it is Baba getting a pain. Then it will be all the time Baba. Try to forget yourself and do all for Baba. Let it be Baba all the time. It might be said that the provisional ego is the last train stop in creation. It usually begins as an exercise, but ultimately the truth behind the provisional ego needs to be revealed in us through experience. That is, the provisional ego is useful as a concept, but it has to eventually become a reality. One day we will realize that all along it has been Baba living what we have always claimed as our life. It really is Baba who gets up in the morning, not us. In watching a movie, for example, we may find ourselves identifying with one of the characters, so that when the character is in danger, we feel we are in danger. When they succeed, we succeed. When they fall in love, we fall in love. In the end, when the credits come up and we know that it was all a projection on our part, we get so identified with the character in the movie that we become that character for the time being. But Baba has said that it has never been us. He is the one who plays all the roles. That is, it is Baba who is living the life we see on the screen before us, and we are projecting our consciousness onto him and claiming that we are the one who is living the life. This is our colossal mistake. Erich once disclosed, there has been no Erich for years. Through Baba's grace, I have become the perfect witness. In lifetime after lifetime, we identify with the character before us and are pulled into the whole illusion of creation. What we are being asked to do is to remain fully aware of creation, but not identify with anything in it. Or put in another way, to be aware that everything and everyone is Baba. Such a detachment, Baba says, is not sterile or passive, but is a state of flowing and dynamic responsiveness to life characterized by a loving spontaneity that always leaves our consciousness free in this way. Leaves our consciousness free. In this way, love is finally liberated from being bound by creation and can express itself in each moment as it wishes, unrestrained by what what our personality wants. Baba has said that we are really infinite, but we identify with the mind, and instantly we become a person. If we didn't do this, we would remain the infinite that we really are. All this is a very tall order from Baba. Bit by bit, we have to go. I know we all sometimes feel in certain moments Baba working through us or eclipsing us in a particular situation. We may feel him watching us, and now it all has to be reversed little by little, so that it is us watching him live what we formerly called our life. The Mandli have said that people are just playing their roles. We are not really our roles. We are really Baba in disguise. This is a huge and revolutionary shift in perception. What a seemingly incomprehensible and unfathomable challenge before us. Can you roll up a little, please? Okay, I'll read that again. This is a huge and revolutionary shift in perception. What a seemingly incomprehensible and unfathomable challenge before us. And fortunately, Baba is always there to make the impossible possible. Kitty Devi would often quote this line from the Bible. I live, yet not, but Christ liveth in me. In his love, Jeff.
Wow.
Sorry, that was a little.
Yeah.
The print is so.
I'm gonna put a different typeface and make it a little bit bigger. I'm sorry. I didn't
No,
realize that this is a little.
it's really tiny. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've got a bigger computer, so it's fine for my size. But I didn't realize that's quite a long writing, but it's hard to
Oh
unpack all these things.
no,
Yeah.
no, it
But
was so
but just
beautifully expressed, Jeff. Very
oh
beautifully expressed, I have to say.
well,
And
thank you.
if I may just add a little something that I came across from Effort and Grace, which I think is quite apt over here. And so here Darwin says, in electricity, the current flows and the wire is only incidental. Likewise, we are conduits. However, we tend to express sanskars from the veil creating subconscious. But we are meant to be mediums of truth. So why not let go of the debris in the mind and become nothing but a wire for the divine current, so that the divine qualities can flow through? We then radiate those qualities instead of myopic thoughts. This is our real work. I thought that was very good.
Yeah. Darwin, I mean, when I was living up there near him, he used to stress, think of yourself not so much as a base of operations, think of yourself as a conduit or a
Yes.
vehicle. Love coming through you rather than from you. Love coming through you rather than love coming from you. It's a different paradigm altogether. And that's, and in a way, that's very much in keeping with the provisional ego. Just to say that that I don't, in reading Baba's past advents, I don't recall him referring to a practice that was similar to the provisional ego. This seems to be more unique to this advent, this particular practice. And I know we feel Baba guiding our life, and overall we're trying to we're influenced by Baba, and he's behind us and inspiring our life. But in the provisional ego, he just brings it down to the street level, right into the concrete present. That when you wake up is Baba waking up, when you eat breakfast is Baba eating breakfast, when you step out in the day it's Baba. That is kind of unique to this Advent. And what I'm hoping is that people can share some of their intermediate stages to try to get to the
No.
To try to get to the provisional ego. I found it very difficult, and I tried, but I had a great exchange with Merwin just a while later on. I'll share, but I'd like to hear from you how you how you fare with this. What Baba is asking in the provisional ego. So, anybody want to venture out? It like I say, the provisional ego is can be hard to make it more of a living experience rather than than an exercise. As an exercise, I tried it many times and it wouldn't stick. So, anyway,
Let's go to Colorado.
I don't have much to say, except Jeff, it is really articulate. Go is right. You really sort of nailed this down. But the one part of it is near the end there about love. And where this has come up for me more directly is I used to think I can love that. I can love a car. I can love a person. I can love a dog. But more and more I realize that that's not love. That's identity or, you know, uh, upapog, chaitanya, all that. But the truth is that, and I've experienced a little tiny taste of this, Jeff, just a tiny taste, and to all of you, not near enough, but that once in a while, just a tiny taste, I've been able to see that the creation is what Bob says. It's his dream to become conscious of himself. And that little tiny, tiny, tiny experience of just almost imagining that it's Baba in my consciousness, it's not my ego, is really it's remarkable because I've only been able to experience that in the last maybe few years. Thanks for listening. Thank you.
yeah, beautiful. I know it's like I say. Oh, good. We got another
I'm gonna
customer
call,
here.
I'm gonna call on myself. So, I get really, this is on recording, so for all of perpetuity, I can get really thick about this in my head. We've been taught, especially we boomers, we go right into a bookstore, we go for the self-help section. We spend millions of dollars, billions of dollars a year on self-help books, therapy, all sorts of things to know ourselves. And now you're throwing this provisional ego card on the table. I try and give it over to Bob. I mean, on a totally serious note, I think Terry and I have talked more about surrendering in the past since January 7th when the fire started. And just waiting, it's just now we're just waiting for Tuesday night, praying that the winds don't pick up here in Los Angeles, and just realizing how we have to totally surrender. It's not about what we want or what we understand.
But that focus on, I do feel that the focus that you have on Baba enables him to work through you, whether you're aware of it or not. And probably the less aware of it you are, the better. I don't know. But yeah, Baba says prayer is effective. It gives him the permission to work through us. So, and that he can enter into a situation in a special way.
So is it okay if I ask people to pray for LA? And I didn't
I,
realize it wrong
yeah,
until I said it.
I mean, it's you're basically asking us to send love to this situation. We can't ask anything better than that, you know.
Okay.
And
Everybody do what he just said.
yeah, Paula seems to be lying on her bunk bed looking down at us. Oh, there she is. Okay, she's right. Okay.
Okay, let's go back to Colorado.
Yes, hello. Well, Jeff, as you said in your letter, whenever I try this, it seems more an exercise than anything else. It's hard for me to really experience it as something real, but it does help me to remember Baba. It's one of the tools that one instruction that Baba gave that kind of goes along with this is, if you before you do anything, think of me. Think of it as if you have to write something, think this is Baba writing. If you have to, drive somewhere, think it's Baba driving. That really does help sometimes to make things a little bit calmer and not as anxious. But when Baba goes so far as to say, if you do something wrong, think it's Baba doing wrong. I mean, the ego takes over so instantaneously. When I do something wrong and want to blame myself, it doesn't make any heart sense to me to do that. But I'll leave it there.
Yeah. No, I remember saying to Erich one time, like if Baba doing everything, but if you do something that you feel Baba wouldn't do that, Baba wouldn't have yelled at that person and shamed them. But Erich says that if you take credit for one thing, your whole house of cards collapses. you know. But you got to get back on your feet again, and it's Baba being the doer. I mean, I'm just saying, it took me about 10 years to get over this, where Baba says, when you do wrong, think it is Baba doing wrong. That was a very major hurdle for me because, and I had to change my definition of Baba, that he's not just this perfect divine being up there, aloof from jealousy and lust and anger and fear. I had to bring him down where he can be fearful, he can be angry. And I'll give you an example that we've had Laura Smith on before, and she shared this, but I'll repeat it again because it deals with that very thing. When you do wrong, think it is Baba doing wrong. She grew up here, part of her life as in her childhood, grew up, and her parents were Baba parents and everything. And then, but then she went off to college, and she got in, even in high school, she got into drugs and alcohol. And somehow she had the I don't know, the audacity to think it's Baba taking this acid, it's Baba getting drunk here. She did that. She brought Baba into the worst side of herself. And she said she got through this much faster than if she had done these things in isolation from Baba. She brought Baba into that's the kind of miracle of it. That doesn't mean you're going to do things that damage yourself, because we don't want to do that. But she, given that she was going to get drunk, she says Baba getting drunk. And one day when she was walking across the street, and she heard Baba say, "Go through that door." And she went through that door, and it turned out to be a Narcotics Anonymous meeting. I've shared that before. So Baba got her through that phase of her life more quickly than if she had done it in isolation from Baba. So there's a well, I could say a great wisdom in that, but it's hard. It doesn't seem to make sense to do such a thing. Baba's, doing that. So, yeah. And, oh, good. We got,
Got Elizabeth.
go ahead, Elizabeth.
You need to unmute.
You're still,
There I
we still,
go. Okay.
oh, there you got, we got you.
Yeah, I couldn't get the video on, then I couldn't get unmuted. So I have a real problem with that aspect when I think of it on a specific level, but not on a more universal level. So I can understand that if God is God, God includes absolutely everything. There's nothing that is not outside of God, which includes all the good and all the bad. So that's, I think, a lot like Vedantism is, where there's this unity. And in the back of God Speaks, there's a whole section in the appendix that's hard to understand on this as well. And I think it comes out of the Sufi tradition. And I'm not an expert on that. But when you get it down to the end, and I can also understand that if Bob is in every person, then Bob is the doer in each person, because Baba manifested in all these drops, the drop souls, in order to find out who he is. That was the whole point, the whim, who am I? And this has been going on since the beginning of creation. And he keeps discovering it through working through each one of us. But this is where I have a really hard time. I have a hard time thinking Baba would condone murdering and, all the horrible things, drug use and all of that. And that's where I have a really hard problem when it comes down to the specifics. And I don't know how you deal with it. I mean, I don't want to live in a society where there are no ethics or morals, and people just do whatever they please and hurt people. And it clashes with it. The intellectual aspect that's more generalized and universal seems to clash with bringing it down to the everyday physical material life. So if anybody has any insight on that, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, you are asking one of the major mysteries and questions that confront any caring and thinking person. How can these things happen if God is a loving God, all loving? Why did these things happen? Let's put that on hold right now, only because it's a little off topic. But let's.
I don't think it is off topic.
Oh, okay.
I mean, how do you relate that to the provisional ego, doing things like murder and all that kind of stuff? You're saying Baba and me is doing it. That's provisional ego. So how? It's complicated.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I was thinking the provisional ego is someone that's devoted to Baba, trying to putting this into practice, whereas there's people out there in the world are just they're up to anything. But just to say, I mean, viewed from in the larger context, there are people that are coming in from the animal kingdom, and there are people that are going from the higher realms of the human experience into the divine. So those people that are just coming in from the animal kingdom with human forms, they don't behave like you and I.
Oh.
But we were doing that kind of stuff, we came in and raised Cain in this world when we just came in from the animal kingdom. But that's maybe later on we'll go into that topic. But that is another. I mean, that's a deeper subject than. But that has to be satisfied by our heart. Has to be somehow satisfied with.
I just hate it when we put hard questions on the parking lot, because then we don't deal with them. We can't just put everything that's hard on the parking lot.
You mean no? We've had whole things, late night chats on the very subject you're talking about.
Okay, so forgive me.
Yeah. We have, but because it's a major issue. But let's see what we have coming up here, and then we'll try to get back to that.
So we'll go with Richard and then to Patty.
Well, I have a couple of very short thoughts on exactly what she said, because everyone's been through this thinking. But first of all, what Jeff said is where that starts. That's where it starts. But for us, we're really, the transpersonal ego is about remembering the divine, perfect one who has taken on the suffering that we wouldn't ordinarily have in order for us to identify with him consciously. That's pretty incredible. The avatar, right? But on the other hand, otherwise, it's just sanskaras. Like Eric said, there's no free will, because your sanskaras are what are going to attract you or other people to you. So if you have an organized society, yes, you have laws about crime and behavior and all that, and that's what society is generally for, amongst other things. But what our job is to relate just to Baba. We can't control the world. We cannot really dictate the terms on what other people's sanskaras. That's enough.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. Although, like I say, by sending out love and goodwill into the world, it can change what happens in the world. But even Baba once said to Mansari, I mean, Mansari's told us, Baba said if one of his lovers is in a city, that city can be protected. Meaning he can work through that, if he needs to, he can work through that. Now, but they may not be protected according to our definition. Because we have a couple people from LA here, and I don't know what, But anyway, let's go on.
Let's go to Patty.
All right, Jay Baba, everyone.
Yeah.
I'm agreeing with you, Jeff, and I'm agreeing with Richard. And I wanted to add, one of the first posters I ever saw of Mayor Baba was the quote, "You and I are not we, but one." And that's what keeps coming to me at this moment. And also, I'm just going to talk a little extra just about what Richard was saying. We're not winding up in the evolutionary, going away from the divinity within us. We're going back to that divinity within us. We've gotten to a point where we realize we're obviously, we've got the experiences and we're headed back. So, but what I think our limitation is we try to do it from a limited mind, which is impossible. You can't do that. And so we impose upon ourselves the game of the provisional ego to identify, practice wearing down those sanskaras that we're tired of, to get back to the stream of love that flows, that created all of everything. And I also want to say that the divinity of the all-pervading God is also the destroyer, So to address a little bit of what Elizabeth was saying is we can't let our limited mind try to understand the universal mind, and how we can't see a big picture here, but we can focus our energies into the fact that there is no I, there is no Jeff, there is no Elizabeth, there's no LA, there's no nothing. It's energy. And if we could recognize through the heart space that surge, that flow, that divinity, that the source, then it makes, and we have to be out of there, basically. We have to be opening up. And it's not we opening up, it's the I opening it up. And the big I, like you and I, are not we, but one, the one. So, I mean, I love the idea of the provisional ego, and I do employ it. It doesn't always, I forget it, but, driving, going to play games. I play ping pong. Okay, Baba, we're playing ping pong today, all these things that can happen. And yet, you know, I'm not the one that's able to kind of bring Patty open more. I have to keep practicing these simple exercises, and they're not simple, but you know, anyway, that kind of
Yeah.
is just what I was thinking about saying. Jay Baba.
Beautiful. Just to add on to what you said,
Yeah.
I've said, what if I was like God? I'm the creator, preserver, and destroyer. I would do a lot of creation, a lot of preservation, and I wouldn't be big on the destruction. And we
No.
would have a mess. The, there would be warehouses for the stuff that I just feel we need to preserve.
Right.
I mean, I would like clog up everything.
Yeah. Well,
So
and yeah.
those three aspects, the destroyer, I'm not for the destruction side.
Yeah.
I don't like it, but I know that if there isn't some destruction, we're going to have a big mess here.
Yeah.
You know, and like I say, I don't want to have anything to do with it, but it happens. Yeah.
It does. And
Yeah.
and we can see that. I mean, I think the heart of us can see the necessity for the lessons.
Yeah.
Because how are you going to see truth if you can't see the opposite?
Yeah.
You know, the devastation and the lot, you know, whatever is not looking like oneness and love.
Yeah.
Jay Baba.
By our definition. Yeah.
By the human definition. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go to Maryland. Hardeep.
Jai Baba to everyone.
Let me just say, Hardik, his wife made these
Dosa,
masala dosas
masala dosa.
in the refectory. I mean, just like you get them in India. She made about 30, 40, 50. I mean, with potatoes in there. It was really, we had never had that before. That was a great day in the life of the Mayor's Spiritual Center.
Did you
But
hear
anyway, go
him
ahead.
say girlfriend?
What's that?
Did you hear him say girlfriend?
No, it's his wife.
Girlfriend.
Wife.
Yeah.
It is wife?
My
Yeah.
wife, yes.
I thought he said girl.
Anybody,
Yeah.
anybody that cooks.
Okay, go
I
ahead.
would like to
Hardik.
know if is he the Shah of Hardik or he's Hardik Shah? I'm confused.
Yeah, Hardik, my first name, and Shah, my last name.
Okay.
Yeah. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Okay, so on this topic, I just want to understand what is the provisional ego. Like, my understanding is to keeping the ego at the bare minimum so that a new karma is not created, but the old one, which is our baggage, that we are just churning up. Is my understanding correct?
Yeah, that's very good. Yeah, you're taking the sting out of what do you call it? The scorpion.
Okay.
So you're
Very good.
Yeah.
You put it very beautifully.
Yeah.
So, like, even before coming to Baba, I was reading a lot of spiritual books about different masters. And in this particular topic, I try to understand, like, beforehand also, like, that what is the ego and what is bad about it and all these things. And what I like understood about the provisional ego is like we have this our karmic sanskaras, right? That is exerting all the time, day and night, every seconds. And we are just in our imagination, we are thinking that we are the responsible behind our actions. For example, if I do something good and people recognize my efforts or my actions, then after the action is complete, I will take the credit of my actions in my imagination that it was my actions. And if I have done something bad, then later on, after a few moments, I will regret about it, thinking that I should not have done that. But those actions which I have asserted was a part of my impressions, and it was bound to happen on a particular time and place with the particular person. But later on, I just take the blame or the credit of my actions, and that is why the provisional ego, instead of getting being it at a provisional, it's actually getting personalized in our actions, and then we create more karma because everything is already predestined, right? In any particular person's journey, he's going to make mistakes. He's going to he's bound to make the bad actions because of his impressions, and there is no fault of that person's actually, if we say in this perspective. So what I understood is the provisional ego, meaning not taking the credit or the blame of the actions once you performed it.
Yeah.
So is it correct? Like, have I put it,
Yeah.
have I understood?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's reinterpreting experience. So that normally you say, I did that good thing, I did that bad thing. Here, you're viewing the same actions, good and bad, but you're thinking that you're bringing Baba as the doer into it. So you're not running into debt yourself. Baba takes the debt, and he's a billionaire. He can pay for it. But like I say, I should say this because I found it very helpful. That I was in Mandalay Hall one time, and the Marwan Jessawala, who, Baba even said when he was a little boy, see that boy over there? He's a saint. So, but I asked him, I said to Marwan, and this may be helpful to you, it was very helpful to me. I said, Marwan, I've done the practice of provisional ego, and I've done it for sometimes months, and I feel that flow and lighten up and everything, but I've never been able to make it stick. I do it for certain periods, and then I relapse into I'm doing things. And I said, what would you suggest? And this is what he said. He said, do this. When you wake up in the morning, say, Baba, I'm waking up. I'm going to go eat breakfast. Come with me to have breakfast. Now I'm going to work. Come with me when I go to work. And now I'm going for lunch. Baba, you come with me when I go for lunch. He even said, when you piddle, Baba, I have to piddle. Come with me. I've got to go piddle. And so I said to Marwan, that's kind of like plan B until you get to plan A. In other words, bring him in there. If you have Baba's companionship with you when you're doing all these mundane things, eventually you see that actually he's doing things. You have him there and you begin to sense that he's the one that's doing things. So this is one of the intermediate stages where bring him with you in everything you do, and eventually you feel that actually he's the one that's kind of unfolding this stuff, and I'm not the one that's actually doing it. You get a sense of that, and it's much easier when you have his companionship than when you have him way back behind you somewhere. You bring him up to the forefront. So that was immensely helpful to me because I was kind of stuck with doing it, but it was more of an exercise. I didn't get the living experience of it, and that was a transitional stage. I don't know if I've made that clear, but that was immensely helpful to me.
Jeff, can I ask you a question though, before we go on? Because
Yeah.
it's about this, and that is, what about taking self-responsibility and accountability? So if I hurt someone's feelings, I don't want to just say, well, that Baba hurt Jeff's feelings, not me.
Well, what will happen is that Baba hurt that person's feelings, and now Baba wants to try to apologize. You won't get away with hurting people and not apologizing, because Baba in you will make you apologize. More than you do when you're just taking credit for yourself, because you get a little bit more courage to apologize, because it's Baba in the mix that's getting you to apologize. Otherwise, you might hurt somebody and you just feel like, no, I don't want to apologize to them. If we're just on our own, we may or may not apologize. But with Baba in the mix, we will have the courage to apologize. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's my experience.
Okay, let's go with Elizabeth.
Yeah. Elizabeth, you're silent again.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I did
Okay,
that to
there you
myself.
are. Yeah.
Yeah, when you were talking about destruction, I could really relate to that because I too am one who does not like to destroy things. And I learned a great lesson when I first started gardening. It took me a couple years that you really have to tear up the old plants that are dying or the ones that have gotten wieldy in order for new plants to grow. I used to have a hard time trimming tomato plants because I didn't like to cut off the branches. But it's gardening really teaches you that to destroy is to prepare the ground for new growth. So that was one thing. The other thing has to do with sanskaras and free will that that I was thinking about. And we have sanskaras, but it doesn't mean that we can't make choices. And part of what I understand is when we are getting rid of the sanskaras, we have the opportunity to do that by making different choices than those we've made in the past. So we come to the same situation and we decide something differently. And that eases that sanskara, helps balance it out. And then when whether we go to sleep at night and they balance out, new ones come up in the morning. So we have the new ones to deal with. So we keep going through this cycle until we're cycling through all the sanskaras, and the ones that are most important come out in that particular day. And then the choices of that day, which we make, we do have an independent will. I mean, it may be known by Baba, God, before we make it, but we're still making it as this individual person, or the provisional ego or whatever. And those choices will be why our sanskaras get lighter or they don't. So
Yeah. Yeah. And the more love that we access, the more the freer we will become in our lives. In other words, love gives us a choice. Like I say, back in my college days, if someone got angry at me, I just get angry back. Now I have some space where I can go to love and say, I'm sorry, I seem to have upset you. I can draw upon a loving response rather than just a reaction. So it's a kind of transition from reaction to a loving response. That's the movement from.
yeah, and I also think the point you made about courage, and I hadn't thought about it before, but there were things I wanted to do that I hadn't done, and I was so embarrassed that I hadn't done them. But I think the love does give you the courage to then go ahead and do them, even though if you're embarrassed and you get them done, and then you find out that was the right thing to do, and it reinforces the right action, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Baba, anytime you bring Baba in with his love, you're open to, there's a whole different set of options to choose from than our sanskaric options. Yeah. Okay.
Let's go to New York, Marion.
Hi, thank you so much, everyone. So I really appreciate this topic, and I'm going to do my best just to take a couple of minutes to share. I'm not about to teach anybody anything. And so Of course, where I am now is different from where I was many years ago, and I evolve and my methods evolve. So what I do my best, I say the prayers every morning, the Master's Prayer and prayer of repentance, and the all the three prayers. But I also, because I keep in my bedside table that I'm saying this in terms about provisional ego, what I am doing. I have that I in there, but it is a capital I. It's not a little ignorant I. And that is what Baba said when you get up in the morning, do the 5 minutes of saying, Baba, I now begin entrusting all to you for 5 minutes. And with some heart in that. And before I go to sleep, I look at Baba's photo and I say, Baba, I entrust all I did to you today. And that's from Lord Mayor. It's a quote of Baba's. And they also said in that same one about, say, he has all through the disc, many places, say my name constantly. And sometimes he would have people say when their ego was getting in there, say it real fast, Baba, 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 Baba. And he would smile because it was so kind of silly, but it worked. And so I may do all those things at different times in my day. And then the provisional ego, I find when I'm walking down the street here in New York City and I'm going shopping or something, and I'm walking along and I notice Baba said, the most direct connection with the divine is nature and the arts. And that's a wide, wide spectrum. So when I walk out and I see the trees that I helped plant 57 years ago on my block in New York City, I put my hand on that bark and I say, I love you. I love you. And I walk down the block loving my trees. And that puts me kind of in the moment where I'm not thinking, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the right thing with Baba? When I'm in that mode, I'm not thinking, should I say the provisional ego? Should I say his name? Whatever. It is more natural, being in a natural state. So I shift in and out of these stages throughout the day. And sometimes I might say, Baba's walking to the store. Baba's reaching for the door handle. Baba's doing this. And sometimes I have to say to Baba, this just seems so silly, So I'll shift into self and other. And so I know I go in and out of spheres, the sphere of the individualized self, which is the psychological. Baba said the psychological is spiritual also. So I'm in that sphere sometimes, repeating childhood patterns. I may shift in another sphere of consciousness, which is the 50-50 of higher self, lower self, and mask. And I may shift into another sphere of I am, and in my realized state. And so throughout my day, it's like just doing my best, because sometimes I have to go into the psychological to say, there's some patterns from my childhood in this life that are not going to transform and that I will use as a gateway my whole life, like feeling like a victim or feeling like I'm not good enough. Those things. I do have to do some processing and then talk to Baba before I can shift into doing the provisional ego. So I'm just saying, so I have no hard and fast rule. I have all these guidelines and I know I am safe and guided. And I hear Baba sometimes speaks to me in English and will say to me, so you are mine, in a very soft, beautiful, loving, compassionate way. You belong to me. I will never leave you. And then I just trust whatever I do when is just fine. It's just fine. So I'll end with that.
Yeah. No, I think you bring up a valuable point is you don't just say, okay, it's Baba sitting here in front of this, computer and this Baba talking right now. And you could get a little bit nuts with that, but after a while you get the spirit of it. You kind of sense like, am I really doing, who's doing this? And sometimes you can get to the point where who cares who does it? I mean, it's like, whether you're doing it or Baba's doing it, it just is getting done.
Yes.
And you're not sitting there, oh, no, I'm talking and I'm sitting here in this chair and you could go nuts if that's just, if you're up in the mind doing this. After a while, you get the whole spirit of it.
Yes.
And you've offered your day to Baba. I find that sometimes the day unfolds, and I can get a sense that my day wouldn't, if I was in charge of this day, it would not unfold like this. Baba's in there, making it unfold in a way that is different. It's got more love, it's got more presence, it's got more, you know, it has more joy in it and everything. And I just feel like Baba is in there orchestrating this, and I'm witnessing it.
Yes.
So, but I'm not sitting there, oh, well, Baba's, you know, the one who opened that gate, Baba's the one that did this and that. I mean, those are valuable, but at the same time, if you get too mental about it, it gets to be a kind of repetitive.
Yes, and we're all going the same way. And I think the sharing is lovely to share. And I have what you were saying, Jeff. I keep Post-its on my shelf by my computer to remind me. And I have that one there. Baba, come with me as I begin my day. Baba, join me for breakfast. Baba, come with me to work. Baba, and then add whatever it is. So I don't see that every day because I thought if I was doing every one of my tools every day, I would be nuts. And sometimes I just surrender the day and play my harmonica and jump up and down. So but then I'll see that. And I'm so grateful for having that on my shelf.
Yeah.
So I call it my toolbox. I can't do everything every day, every moment, but having them available on my to-do list, I just feel the grace, Baba's grace, that is flowing to me all the time. And when I feel fear, it may be I have a favorite prayer. It's not what can I do to do anything. That is so stressful, but it's Baba, what support do I need to? And then I fill in the blank.
Yeah.
What support do I need to transform this fear? Baba, what support do I need? Because support is aligned with surrender. Whereas what do I need to do is aligned with kind of me, Marion, having to work harder. So that's one of my favorite prayers. Baba, what do
Yeah.
I need to allow? A hug every day. I live alone. I need some hugs. You know?
Yeah.
So anyway, I'll pass with
Yeah.
that. Thank you,
Beautiful.
everyone. Thank you.
Yeah. Excellent.
We'll go to Patty and then Prakash. We'll just stay with the P's for a couple bits.
Yeah.
Okay, I just had I love everybody sharing. It's very good for me, and I love what people are saying. I had one quote by Baba that I thought was it just came to me today. I saw it for the first time and I've never seen it before. So, and a lot of you may have heard it. So it says, love has no questions and hence expects no answers. Love itself is the answer to all questions. The more you love me, the less you question.
Beautiful.
And I'd
Yeah.
never heard that. So to me, it's appropriate in the sense that if I keep loving, I'll have less questions, you know.
Yeah.
And then the other one was a Kabir quote, and I think I've read this to you before, but I really love it. And it helps with the provisional ego. Once and for all, make the resolve that everything is God's and nothing is mine. Let this be your resolve. Nothing of me is mine. All that is yours. Having given to you what is yours, what concern have I for any of it? Jai Baba. And that's
Yeah.
here.
I think Baba asked Mera to memorize that.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
That last quote.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so beautiful. And I mean, it gets down to really everything we can do is just to turn and face the source within, so that the source flows freely. We'd all be so lucky to be those mandali, to have that flow so abundantly to everything and everyone. So Jai Baba.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's go to Prakash.
Hey, Jai Baba. Wow, everybody talked about all the beautiful things that can be said about provisional ego. To me, it's like training wheels. I mean, you just, because Baba said, not a leaf moves without my will. If that's the case, just like Patty and everybody said, things are happening just the way they're supposed to. And, and so now it's a question of our realizing that it's actually God who's doing it through us. And I think for that process, we just take on the training wheels, use them till we need. After that, discard them, and then the understanding that he is doing everything like Jeff said will become part of the whole process. But here is, I thought I'll also share something that I found in Glow International Summer 2021. So here, just like Jeff, what you said in the initial thing that was read, something similar is here, but there is one couple of lines at the end which really makes, which add something new. So let me read this little bit. So here Baba says, virtue and sin both bind. Both are fetters, one like gold, the other like iron, but both bind. Sing for me, not for yourself. Krishna told Arjun to kill his relatives in war. And then Baba says, eat, dance, forget yourself in the action. This is union through action, just like how Jeff mentioned in the email that was read. And then Baba continues, can you picture me driving a car? Can you picture me dancing? When you dance, then it is Baba dancing. When you drive a car, then it is Baba driving. Baba does everything. When you blow your nose, then it is Baba blowing his nose. And here is the kicker. So, Baba, just like how Patty said, Patty, what is going on, what I'm going to read is going to rhyme with what Patty said. The aim, Baba says, is not to be limited in action. The aim is not to be limited in action, desire, speech, or sense, but to be unlimited. It is then that sin and virtue are both nil. There is no binding, and it is no strain as with yogis. Do think always of Baba. It is the easy and natural way. So, I mean, what I found very interesting are these two lines. The aim is not to be limited in action, desire, speech, or sense, but to be unlimited. It is then that sin and virtue are both nil. So, I guess the whole idea of provisional ego is a way of bringing the unlimited into us and making the unlimited do everything. When it is unlimited, there is only oneness and there is no duality. So, so in that sense, there is no way to accumulate new karma, just like I think somebody said Hardik. So I don't know if it makes sense, but I thought I'll just read that to everybody and see if you can think about it. Jai Baba.
Yeah, thank you. Good quote. I know it's.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh,
You ready for the next person?
yeah.
Paula, you raised your hand, took it down, raised it, took it down. I've seen it all. So we're going to stay with you as the third P, unmute, and then we'll go move on.
Okay. I just wanted to ask Marion, did you really plant the trees on your street 50 something years ago?
Yes, I didn't dig the holes, but
Oh,
we
okay.
on the block, we got the city to come get those trees. They were all saplings. There were no trees
Oh,
on these Upper West Side streets. There was not a tree. And
yeah.
we organized it to get the trees put in there. And it was, yes, it was about 57 years ago. And
Okay.
now there are these huge, we've lost a few of them, but there's these huge, tall Siberian elm trees that are taller than my building. So,
Okay. Wow.
yeah, when I walk out, I walk down the street and say, I love you. I love you. I tell
Oh,
each
how
one
wonderful.
it's my favorite tree.
I just wanted to ask you and follow up with that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's
Okay,
out of her tree now.
the original tree hugger. Let's go back
Yeah.
to
So Hardik.
Uh, I have a question. Like when it comes to remembering Baba, I can understand, like, let's say I'm going from one room to another. I can remember Baba. I'm doing some mundane task. I can I can focus on remembering him. But when it says, like, when you hear or see something, or when you are in some intense activity, it's very natural to not, it's very difficult to focus remembering him. Because if somebody is speaking to you and you are focusing on listening to that person, how one can focus on remembering the Baba in those situations like this?
Yeah. Yeah. This is what I gathered from Erich. It's he says part of it is forgetting yourself, getting lost in what you're doing, and then when you come out of that absorption to remember Baba. So if you're in a conversation with somebody or you're playing with your kids there, you get way off into their world. And you even and what Eric said is when you lose yourself, say, in playing with your kids, Baba can live through you. He can work through you, even if you're not aware of it. So you don't, because if you're trying to remember Baba and play with your kids at the same time, that may complicate things.
Yes.
You know, so self-forgetfulness is equally a critical part of it. Baba remembrance and self-forgetfulness. If you have your computer job there, you want to get in there and focus on that. All that time, well, what's that got to do with Baba? But Eric said if you can lose yourself in your work, even though it's not has no spiritual connection to Baba, so to speak, you're helping your company that you're working for. But
Right.
by if you lose yourself in that work, Baba can live through you, and so you haven't forgotten Baba in that.
Okay.
But then when
Thank
you
you.
come out of the absorption, and Eric said, when you remember to remember Baba.
Okay.
That was a great turning point for me because I
Thank
was
you.
trying to
Thank you,
remember
Jeff.
Baba in and through everything, and that's nuts.
Mm. And also, today morning I came across a very beautiful article and a conversation between Rustam and Aruj about remembering the Baba, and I'm sharing the link in the chat after this meeting. You know, uh, you guys can check it out. It's very thought provoking. I really liked it very much, so
Oh,
I'm
good.
sharing it.
Those are very good books. It's called The Real Treasure by Rustam Falahati. If you
Okay.
can get copies of them, they're really great conversations with the Mandali. Okay, go for it, Bob.
Yeah, Jeff, I just have I'm remembering that wonderful poem you wrote about driving the car and then moving to the back seat. If you have
Oh,
that handy, it's really pertinent to this discussion.
okay.
I don't know if
Okay.
you could find out, but I'd love to hear it again. So
Okay. This is kind. I don't. Can you folks hear me all right?
yes,
Okay.
Yes.
So this is. I woke up at 3 in the morning one time, and I I just wrote this thing. It just kind of came out. It was a little bit nuts, but it came out, and it kind of traces the evolution of my life with Baba from the early days, and then moving toward the provisional ego. So here's how I write it. It's called Going Along for the Ride. This life with Baba is like driving a car along the perilous highways of this world. It starts out like this. I am behind the wheel, and I have placed Baba in the back seat. He lovingly accepts this arrangement. At first, I have the windows rolled down, and I only vaguely hear any guidance Baba might have to give me from behind. I learn to value his interventions. From time to time, he helps me when I am totally lost or am approaching serious danger. In an effort to hear him better, I turn down the radio and roll up the windows. Ah, what an improvement! I find Baba is an excellent backseat driver. Discovering over time how helpful he is, I invite him to come up and sit in the passenger seat. Baba is perfectly fine with that. We have great conversations, and I enjoy his companionship. I can tell him everything. Occasionally, he suddenly grabs the wheel so we avoid an accident. When I get drowsy, I notice he does a little of the steering. I begin to trust him a little more. Then at one point, it becomes clear that we really need to switch places. I move over to the passenger seat and let Baba get behind the wheel. At first, from time to time, I grab the steering wheel when he turns towards somewhere I don't want to go, especially into the congestion of big cities. Sometimes he drives through dark neighborhoods where I feel frightened. Sometimes he spends too much time driving on roads that don't seem safe. Sometimes he drives too slow and sometimes too fast. I have to work at trusting him. But time and again, his decisions prove to be the best. We turn off the highway onto a side road, and we find out later that a bridge ahead had been washed out, or a patch of the highway was iced over. I realize my habit of grabbing the wheel from him is not helping. I decide it's best to move to the back seat and let him do the driving. I'm now the back seat driver. Sometimes I yell out instructions, and he is so accommodating, he doesn't force his will on me. Eventually, I see it's easier to let him do the driving entirely. I trust him more completely, and I don't even bother to watch the highway anymore. From the back seat, I find I'm so attracted to watching him drive the car, and then I'm content to just watch him. I notice for the first time how beautiful Baba is doing something so very ordinary. I begin wondering, who is that in the driver's seat? He looks a little like me, but I'm here in the back seat. Has he become what was formerly me? So simple, so natural, just an ordinary person? I wonder what's supposed to happen to me. Am I now to watch Baba live my life from the back seat? Am I no longer to look through my eyes, but through the eyes of pure awareness itself? If Baba has become me, then I must be a nobody. What a relief. Does he want to eclipse my personality and drive this jalopy of a car through the world, and I have only to witness this? Could it really be that simple? Baba has said he is the one who plays all the roles. Does that mean that everyone is really Baba in disguise, and we are just consciousness witnessing this? My ego says, have I been taken for a ride? But my soul counters, oh no, this has been the ride of a lifetime. Only time will tell.
That goes right along with something Prakash said when he was talking about. Prakash said something like, "Picture Baba doing it," and it really, I mean, using that your poem is so visual, and that's such an important tool. It never struck me quite that way, but it's to use the power of visualization, of Baba actually doing something, is quite good. Thank you, Jeff, for sharing
Yeah.
that.
Did that make any sense? I mean, I just like at 3 a.m. I know I wrote this thing. It just kind of came out.
Jeff, you wrote very beautifully, and it is so meaningful at every stage how the transition or the evolution happens in the spiritual journey. It is put very beautifully in this particular poem. I loved it.
Jeff,
Oh,
is there
thank
a
you.
way to get a copy of that?
Yeah. Yeah, just type, well, just a second here.
How
Yeah,
about if you send it to all of us? That was
okay,
excellent.
I'll send it out. I thought I did
Yes.
maybe, but maybe
But
I
I
didn't.
don't know if I'm on the list.
Oh, who has
Well-
Angela's number? Email, because you can send If someone has Angela's email, if type it in the chat box.
I have her email address. I'm sending in the chat.
Oh, okay. So Paula, it'll be there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Jeff, I just wanted to say that I thought that was beautiful too, and such an amazing metaphor. And I mean, you captured the whole journey, and I thought it was amazing.
Yeah, that was kind of the evolution of my relationship with Baba over from the beginning to more toward that time.
It has
I
certainly
kind of,
come from the Baba through you. The way it is
Yeah.
so beautifully put.
Yeah.
I kind of like the Baba driving on the dangerous road part, Jeff.
I know he makes us face things that we'd rather not face, on bad roads and he drives too slow, sometimes too fast, whatever.
It made me realize how he could have taken the wheel from Elizabeth or from Erich and
And
did
he
it.
did. Sometimes Erich would see Baba's hand, when he would kind of nod off a little bit, and Baba would be there and actually grab the steering wheel and yeah. So anyway, I think we've come to we're a provisional end to this late night chat. We didn't hear from Tony, but Tony is taking a bye. He doesn't have to play in the big ball game. He had a good enough record that he gets to come into the playoffs a little later. Okay. Anyone have a?
Nasreen, oh, sorry.
Oh yes, where's Nasreen? We need your final stamp on this.
Jeff,
And
So is this finished tonight?
Jeff, I
Yeah.
support you if you'd like.
yeah, here's what we'll do is we'll have Nasreen ring the bell, then we'll have a period of silence, and then you read the final quote. Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. Jai Baba.
Hey, Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Yeah.
So here's a quote from Baba that I will share, Jeff.
Yeah.
And it's quite appropriate for the topic today. Baba says, in taking Baba's name during the day, the mind and the ego will try to steer you away, knowing that that is the weapon you have to destroy them.
And that's Marwan. Is that Marwan Jesawala?
I really don't know where it's from. I'll have to research that, but I've had it on my list of quotes that I have here. It's one of my favorites. So
Yeah, you know what?
Yeah, read it
Yes.
again. Go ahead, please.
Sure. In taking Baba's name during the day, the mind and the ego will try to steer you away, knowing that that is the weapon you have to destroy them.
And here's another version of that, because it was a guy named Tom Curtin, whose practice was to say Baba's name inwardly, and Marwan put his hand against his cheek, and he said, elaborating a little bit, and he said, let's see, how does it go? In taking Baba's, this is Merwin telling this, Tom Curtin, a friend of mine. In taking Baba's name throughout the day, your ego and mind will tell you that this is too simple a way to follow Baba, because they know that you have in your hands the weapon that will destroy both of them.
So this must be from there, Jeff.
Yeah.
That-
But isn't that good? I'll
It
say
is.
that one again. In taking Baba's name throughout the day, your mind and ego will tell you this is too simple a way to follow Baba, because they know that you have in your hands the weapon that will destroy both of them. That's right, from Merwan.
Everyone's book, yeah.
Yeah,
Baba, saying Baba's name is kryptonite.
yeah, it
Oh,
is.
that's right.
Yes.
That's-
Well, anyway, I guess we'll start. Oh, I had put this out to Diane and Terry, but that I know that this is late at night, and there's a slot between 5 and 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. But that can conflict in some places, but there's a time slot there that we could move it to that time, if that was better. But then Diane and Terry, they're active at the center in Los Angeles, so has a conflict there. So maybe we'll talk about that sometime. And maybe we can go back and take on Effort and Grace again at some point.
We'd have to call it late afternoon with Jeff Wolverton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The,
and
the,
for
the
me,
late
it would be your-
afternoon chat.
That's
The late
really
afternoon
making you a
chat.
senior citizen.
When summer
Who
comes,
plays special?
it's not a good time for me in the summertime. It's way too early in my day.
Yeah.
It would be 4 o'clock here for me.
Yeah. 4
I think
o'clock
it might
there.
work. I think it might work really well for some people and maybe not for others. So maybe we just need to vote and see how many people it would be easy, because East Coast people have been doing this for a long time. It's very late.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right.
But they seem to manage, even though they fall asleep kind of
But if we're
partway
night
through.
owls, it's not a problem at all. But
East
if you're
Coast-
an early bird, it's a problem.
Yeah.
East Coast are tough people.
Yeah.
They're tough people.
But it would be worse for Johannes.
What about 9 o'clock p.m.? Oh, that's already time. Never mind.
Yeah. Yeah. See, yeah, those
That's-
slots are taken. But then Johannes would have to kind of get up at
Would be great.
one
Would be
in the
great.
morning.
Thank
Huh?
you. Good for your suggestion. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we will see. We will see. Keep that on.
Start at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
For you,
So
it would be 4 in the afternoon.
no, if you
Oh.
start at 4 in the afternoon, it would be 10 in the evening for us.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
not so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll just put that out there in your consciousness, and we'll see what comes up. Anyway, wonderful to see all of you. Coming up soon is Amar Tithi. The anniversary of Baba passing. And yeah. So, hey, Jai Baba, much love.
Hey, Baba.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you
buddy.
for.
Jai Baba.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Baba.
Thank you.
You
Bye-bye.
Baba.
Bye-bye.
What?
Jai
Nasreen?
Baba.
Nasreen?
Jai Baba.
Avatar Meher Baba ki jai.
Jai.
Avatar Meher Baba ki jai.
Jai.
Avatar Meher Baba ki jai.
Jai.
Okay, now we're free.
Jai Baba.
Release.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great,
Sure.
great meeting. Thank you.
Dave,